Coming to get you, Bobber.
House of Wax is a 2005 horror movie directed by Jean-Colette Serra, and it stars Chad Michael Murray, Paris Hilton and Alicia Cuthbert. This is one of these remakes that's a remake by name only. It's similar to The Thing, that it has the remake name, but it's got nothing to do with the original House of Wax. A group of unwitting teens are stranded near a strange wax museum and soon must fight to survive and keep from becoming the next exhibit. Now this is going to be an interesting review, and before I filmed this review, I wanted to get the Facebook feelers out there, because when I first seen the movie, I enjoyed it. And I didn't want to tell people that I enjoyed it, because I read all around me that nobody liked this movie, and I thought, why do I like this film and nobody else likes it? What are they saying that I don't, or what am I saying that they don't? I just didn't understand the hate that this movie got. So before I watched the film, this was intentional. I put it out on Facebook to say that I'm watching House of Wax. Didn't say anything about it, I just said I'm watching it. And I had a good amount of people say they loved this movie. This is a great movie, highly underrated. I don't know why people hate this movie. Basically everything that they're saying is everything that I thought. So I put it out there, and I didn't get one single person tell me they didn't like this film. And it made me think, well, what was the big hate about it back in the day? The only thing I can think, well, two things that I can think of is there's a group of people out there that don't like remakes. Doesn't matter how good the remakes are, they just don't like them and probably have never seen them. So that's one group of people that I'm assuming that didn't like it. The other group of people is probably the people who don't like Paris Hilton. Now, who likes Paris Hilton? Probably nobody. But I wouldn't put a movie's quality down to one person acting in the film, especially someone in the movie that didn't have a lot of screen time. So that's only two things that I can think of that maybe people didn't like House of Wax. Obviously, after you watch this review, you can tell me down below if you hated it or not. There's an alternate opening in this film that I didn't see, and that was, I don't know if you remember guys, there was a wax figure called Miss Ambrose. She was like the beauty pageant girl. She was played by a character called Jennifer at the beginning of the film. She was a hitchhiker, and Bo picked her up in his pickup truck. I'm assuming we don't see him, we just see the pickup truck, and she gets picked up and she gets killed, and then she becomes Miss Ambrose. I wish they left that scene in, because that scene sounded very interesting. This film had a fantastic setting. This is the kind of setting that I always imagined when I was a young aspiring film writer, if I ever wanted to become one. I always imagined going camping for the first thing, because the Blair Witch Project was one of my favourite horror movies at the time. So I always imagined going camping with my friends and getting lost in the middle of nowhere. And that's sort of what they did at the beginning of this film. But then they ended up venturing into a little small town, a little small village, made completely of wax. And that is so creepy. And the thought of it being creepy is creepy enough, but actually building the set and making it looking as effective as it did was absolutely amazing. And again, that's something that I loved about this movie. The setting, the location, it was perfect. When it comes to the acting in horror movies, you expect it to be mediocre at best. This was, in terms of a horror movie, a horror remake, this was a superior acting job by most of the actors in here. Obviously, take away Paris Hilton, she was okay, she wasn't annoying, she was okay. But people like Brian Van Holt, who played two characters, he played Bo and Vincent, he was great. He was great as this charming guy who you didn't want to trust, and he was also great as the menacing masked killer, and he played two characters. You also had Chad Michael Murray and Alicia Cuthbert. I know that they're kind of drama teen actors at the time, but they were great as twins as well. They were quite convincing for me. I know that some people felt like the dynamic between Alicia Cuthbert and Chad Michael Murray looked more incestuous, as in they could be a couple, and maybe the guy from Supernatural could have been her brother. So I could change that up and it wouldn't make a difference to the acting. I just think that Chad Michael Murray and Alicia Cuthbert, those were the two strongest actors in the film. I think a lot of you will agree that Bo reminded us of Bill Paxton and Dennis Quaid. The film's on for 112 minutes. That's a long film for a horror movie. I don't remember a dull moment in this film. From start to finish, I was on the edge of my seat. Even when things weren't happening, for example, when they were exploring the wax museum, I'll give you that as an example. They weren't doing much, they were just exploring, but we didn't know what was going to happen. But at the same time, we as a viewer were also exploring that wax museum as well. So when things weren't happening, we were looking at interesting things. Like, we found out the wax museum was actually made of wax. That's interesting. And even when they were just looking around, looking at the wax sculpts, it was interesting. So when nothing was happening, something was happening and we were enjoying it. This was a 15 in the UK. I didn't look, it might have been rated R in the US or even PG-13 in the US. But for a 15 in the UK, this was a pretty gruesome movie. Had quite a lot of blood. There were some scenes that looked quite cut as well, like you didn't see a decapitation, for example, of John Abrams' character. But some of the kill scenes were pretty gruesome. For example, Paris Hilton's kill scene when the pipe goes into her head. Not only was that gruesome, he actually put the pipe through her head to pull it out again. And I'm thinking to myself, how did this get a 15 cut? I'm nitpicking here if I had to bring up any negatives. I think some of the scenes near the end were a little poetic and cheesy. For example, Beau and Vincent were twins. They were conjoined twins and they had to get cut as young kids. So that's why Beau looked like a good looking guy and Vincent had to wear a mask because his face was cut. And there was a scene where you had these conjoined twins and Vincent was cutting down the middle, exactly where Beau and Vincent were cut as kids. And then when Beau and Vincent were killed, Vincent fell on top of Beau and their heads mashed together as almost like the way they were born. Also, at the end, it was twins versus twins. Apart from that though, guys, I had no other negatives. Overall, I was entertained throughout. I really liked this movie. It was one of the stronger remakes, if you can call it a remake, of its time. I don't understand the hate. I didn't understand the hate at the time and I still don't understand the hate, but I really need to know from you guys, do you genuinely hate this movie? And if you do, I really want to know your reasons down below as to why you don't like it. If you don't like it, I completely respect that opinion. I'm just interested to find out now, 15 years later, is there that much hate for the movie now as there was back then? As always guys, thanks a lot for watching, thanks for subscribing, I'll see you soon, bye bye.